Hi everybody, it's Dr. Leslie Apgar coming at you live from Greenhouse Wellness with the fabulous Sierra behind the camera. Hi everybody. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the progression of the cannabis industry and kind of getting us to where we are now and then where it's going to take us moving forward. And obviously with my GYN history, I have a special interest in taking care of women. I certainly have been listening to them tell me what's wrong and what hurts and what they need for the last 20-something years. So now we're starting to analyze women and men and look at their different physiologies and kind of make some medical choices accordingly, and that's why we came up with Blisseva, as you guys well know. But let me just take us back a little bit. I'm going to give you a little bit of history about kind of where we were and how we got to where we are today, and then in the future, what does that mean? So cannabis has been around for a long time. We think that the plant originated in Kazakhstan about 50 million years ago. And we think that the cannabinoids in cannabis may have originated either to protect the plant from the high UV light that was from the high altitude, or perhaps to protect against the local fauna from ingesting the plant. So we don't know exactly why the cannabinoids existed. But interestingly enough, our bodies are wired for cannabis. And it's been a very interesting evolution because I didn't learn about this in medical school. There was no such thing as an endocannabinoid system when I was in medical school. That was discovered much later. And it's interesting, but Dr. Raphael Mechoulam out of Israel was the one who first synthesized THC in his lab in the 60s, early 60s. And he realized that if that molecule had such an impact on our own bodies, that we must have a receptor for it. And if we had a receptor for it, why did we have a receptor for it? Well, it turns out we have the most primitive nervous system called our endocannabinoid system. Everything on the planet but insects has an endocannabinoid system. It's fascinating. So our own bodies produce endocannabinoids all the time, on demand, very quickly, and then they're metabolized very quickly and they're out of our bodies. And there's my science crush, Dr. Russo out of Washington State, has a theory that I actually think has a lot of credibility, that there's a deficiency in our endocannabinoid system, and that leads to a whole host of disease. We can talk about that in another live video, but in any case, our bodies are wired for cannabis, and women's bodies are wired a little bit differently than men, and it's been very interesting to learn this. So our most primitive nervous system, right, it's in charge of eat, sleep, relax, forget, and protect. So our most basic impulses and basic needs that we have to function as humans. And that's what the endocannabinoid system does. But in women, which is so interesting, estrogen affects the levels of our own endogenous endocannabinoids, specifically anandamide. Anandamide is the very first endocannabinoid discovered. It was named for the Sanskrit word for bliss. So in any case, estrogen levels directly impact anandamide. So what's really cool is that everybody probably knows somebody who's had something called PMS. Well, the anandamide levels decline precipitously right as you're about ready to get your period. And I wonder if that has anything to do with the fall in our moods, the PMS that a lot of women experience right before their menstrual cycle starts. So that's interesting. And then obviously with my GYN and OB background, it's fascinating to learn about our reproductive system and how densely wired our reproductive system is for cannabis and for endocannabinoids. There are tons of receptors, CB1 and CB2 receptors in our reproductive tract. And interestingly, certain levels of these chemicals in our bodies at certain times make for easy conception, or maybe not. Maybe more miscarriages, maybe early fetal loss, maybe babies that don't go to term but are prematurely delivered. It's fascinating how these ratios are really important as far as healthy development of the fetus. And then one of the stories I love to tell, which is just so fascinating, is how in labor our bodies make a ton of anandamide that's upregulated, and our bodies are just flooded with anandamide while we're in labor, so that immediately after that baby comes out, this feel good or this feel happy hormone is just everywhere in our bodies, and it makes us forget immediately the pain and the trauma of what we just went through, which is important. And it makes us bond with that newborn baby, which is just absolutely fascinating. And now that I am up there in age and associated with that menopausal period, funny enough, declining estrogen levels mean declining anandamide levels. And all of my patients, when they are at this age, complain of anxiety and sleep disorders. And that's why we developed Placebo. That was our first pen that we put out for anxiety and sleep. So I wonder if perhaps it's the decreasing levels in anandamide that may in some way play a role in our declining moods and our inability to sleep well. So it's certainly food for thought, and it's certainly an area of study, and I can't wait to see more studies that come out focusing on women. So bottom line, ladies, we are not the same as men. Our bodies do not work the same as men do, as we well know, and cannabis affects us differently. It turns out that we are affected a little bit more by cannabis than men are. And we're less likely to become tolerant to it, which is also interesting. So I'd love to see more studies come out on that. And obviously we have lots coming in down the pike as far as Placebo. So I know we sold out in Maryland like that, but there's more coming. So don't you wait. We're going to have great products designed for just you ladies coming down the pike very, very soon. So any questions, don't hesitate to email us or shoot us a text or whatever, and we're happy to respond. Can't wait to see you guys at Greenhouse. Have a great week.